Tommy Robinson is now officially the champion of Zionist propaganda, posting approximately 40 videos with him in Israel, talking about how marvelous the country is, and as a matter of fact, how great it is for the Muslims and Christians and everyone else living inside of Israel these days. Of course, this campaign is not an authentic or genuine campaign, but a propaganda campaign. Israel has been working really hard to gain back some of that lost image that tarnished it forever during the past 2 years when they were butchering infants and children in Gaza in a genocide and an infanticide and a total destruction. And now they're bringing people like Tommy Robinson or whatever his name is to have this tour in Israel and speak about how the Muslims and Christians there live freely and that they love the country. So we're going to go through all of these details. And today I thought, okay, I am a Palestinian. I'm a Muslim too. And I was born in occupied Palestine, or what is called Israel. I thought I'll bring my Palestinian friend who's also a Christian too, who was born in the same area, so we can both share our thoughts. His name is Chozy Ayub. Chozy, welcome and good to see you again on our channel.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Thank you for having me, and I'm ready to dissect and do what we have to do with this guy.
Let's begin with this. Let's begin with who exactly is this guy here for the people who don't know him. Tommy Robinson, he has several other names. Andrew McMaster, Paul Harris, Wayne King, and Stephen Lennon, or Stephen Lennon Yaxley, and other sorts of different names. Known, well, according to Wikipedia, he's known for his anti-Islam campaign, which is very clear from what he's done, but there's something much deeper than that, because we know the ties that the Zionist movement has, this unholy alliance with racist and elements from European countries and all across the world. As a matter of fact, Tommy Robinson or Stephen Yaxley Lennon or Andrew or Paul, whatever he is, he also proudly brags about himself supporting the Israeli Defense Forces. The man capitalizes on some of the most vulnerable people coming from really hard lives in many cases, and feeds them with this racism and hatred and propaganda and blames everything on immigrants and on people who came from abroad and what have you. And he is very well known for his Islamophobic sentiment. And as a matter of fact, he made a rally not long ago where there were people just waving the Israeli flags. And when they were questioned why they were raising the Palestinian flags, they didn't know. But the main topic is, of course, well, that recent feed of his on YouTube. What's happening? 40 videos just in a few days, approximately. This is one of them here, another video. People from Jerusalem everywhere, as if everyone, is living in peace in Israel and everything is working perfectly. And in relation to some of these videos, like before we get into the reality, we need to understand the propaganda. For example, in this video here, he's sitting with a few people from Jerusalem who are telling him, yeah, that things are actually fine. Although at one instance, there was a man in this video who came standing with him, and then a couple of Israeli soldiers passed by, literally threatening him, and he was waving with his hands like this as if he's going to be handcuffed if he says anything wrong. These people live under brutal apartheid in Jerusalem. One word you get wrong, they'll imprison you and trash your location. He's going there asking as if they have the liberty and freedom to say anything against the state of Israel. Israel constantly harasses and bullies these people in Jerusalem. If they even sell a Palestinian t-shirt, in many cases they force them to sell Israeli Mossad t-shirts in some of these shops in Jerusalem, right? So he's portraying this as if, oh no, they're fine and they're happy. What do you think? They're going to say something in Jerusalem? Do you think that these people are at liberty to start talking badly about Benjamin Netanyahu and about the state of Israel? That's not going to happen. Now, let's go through the reality. Of course, we have the propaganda here. Let's go through the reality a little bit. Chozy, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about yourself, your upbringing too, as a Palestinian Christian who was born in what is called Israel. And in the meantime, I will bring up some videos to show how Christians are treated inside of Israel.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in an area that eventually became called the West Bank, in an area called Dahet al-Barid. Before it belonged to Jerusalem, but then I think in the 90s or so, they built the wall, the apartheid wall, to separate the people living there from going to Jerusalem. And we had to pretty much get in on a checkpoint that can take between 30 minutes to 2 hours, 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the time. And eventually my dad decided that we need to move closer to Jerusalem. And then I moved there. But growing up, I come from a multi-faith family. We went to an old school in Jerusalem called Collège des Frères. It's an old French school, Muslims and Christians together. Nobody cared. We never talked about religion. The Muslims went to the Islamic study class, and the Christians went to a church in the school. And we never had issues between each other. The only issues we had is at the checkpoints going to school, and in the old city of Jerusalem, when we want to walk around, always getting harassed by the Israeli soldiers and police. And nobody was spared. I remember even one time we were leaving school, and I think one kid threw a rock at the soldiers. And this is what they asked us, man. This is how they try to divide us. They're like, they were stopping every kid, and they're asking him, "Are you Arab or are you Christian?" And I'm like, what? I was like, what? He's like, "Are you Arab or are you Christian? If you said you're Arab, they stopped you. If you said you're Christian, they wanted to let you go." And I was like, I'm Arab and Christian. Like, what are you talking about? So this is how they try to divide us. And even when they try to recruit people to their military, because a lot of them are Druze too, they try to recruit the Palestinian Christians that live in occupied Palestine, as they call them, Israeli Arabs, right? So they try to recruit the Christians. The Christians are like, how can we join a place and an army that does not represent us and actually killed our grandparents and is pretty much prejudiced to us? They don't allow us to go to churches at times, just like they don't allow Muslims to go to pray at the Aqsa Mosque. They don't allow us to get in the Sepulchre Church, and they can go inside.
This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre when they raided the church.
Yeah,
by the way.
They do this every time. Like, how can you go to a place of worship and start kicking people out? And it's a custom for them to spit on Christians and on the cross. I mean, these people, they despise Jesus Christ and everything that he stands for. And even their book, the Talmud, talks about how he's burning and boiling experiment. And we are supposed to be one and support the Zionist state as Christians. No, buddy, I'm not supporting the Antichrist. You treat Muslims and Christians in the Holy Land the same way. But what Tommy Robinson, or whatever his name is, first of all, I don't trust people that keep changing their names. But anyways, this guy's not even Christian. He never proclaimed Jesus Christ. He's not Christian. He's just a tool by the Zionist. And he's born from, I guess, a British and an Irish parents. And he has a lot of, he's been arrested for fraud, for
terrorism. He's been in prison, but somehow the British establishment lets him get away. He's acting like he's against Keir Starmer, probably because Keir Starmer's government doesn't push as much racism as the previous Tory government, blunt, abhorrent racism in your face, but they sleep in the same Zionist bed, him and Keir Starmer. Here we have an image, a video of a Palestinian father walking with his son in the Christian quarter in Jerusalem. And look at what the Jewish Zionist settlers do to him. Look at how they spit at him. Look at how they intimidate him. And look at what they do to him and his child. Imagine being the son of that man. Imagine how he must feel trying to protect his child when these Zionist Jewish terrorist thugs come and start to harass him. Empowered, of course, by the Israeli police and with the Israeli army too. And they tell you about Christians living in peace and Christians feeling, like they love Israel or saying that they love Israel. As a matter of fact, there was a video by one of the Christians who actually are in the area, where he was asked, how is the day-to-day life inside of Jerusalem? Let's listen to what he had to say in this video over here.
The community here, we get spit on every day. Wearing a cross, you will get spit on in this neighborhood. You will get into fist fights. And
who is spitting on you?
the Jews, of course, the Orthodox Jews. They are raised in their schools how to hate the Christians. This is the country that all the prophets came from. Moses, and we want to live in peace. We don't want to be abused and suffered, and our kids to suffer, because we don't see any future in Jerusalem.
Palestinians.
This is what they face.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what they face. This is what they face on a day-to-day basis. This is how they treat the Christians. These are the shameful things that they do during the holy Christian festive season. Look at this video here, how they were brutally preventing women from entering the holy churches inside of Jerusalem. Look at that aggression. Look at how they treat them. And for no valid reason as well, by the way. Yeah. For no valid reason. They only want to dictate who goes in and who goes out in one of the most holy periods for Christians. And by the way, many of these people come from all across the world. They come from Europe, they come from Latin America, they come from all across. Because some people who are not aware or affiliated with some of these churches in Jerusalem, because many of them are holy to multiple denominations in Christianity, you will see multiple denominations going there and having certain sections inside. Yet Israel, this is what they do to them on a regular basis in Jerusalem, to a level where they frighten them. This is what they do to people who want to preach Christianity. I mean, I thought you had a right to say what you want in that country, supposedly the only Western country. Look at how they treat women who are simply in the streets talking about Christianity, right? I'm not sure why this video is, let's try and make it larger here. Look at them, look at their children. Look at what they do to this woman. And by the way, she was like pro-Israel, unfortunately for her. Pro-Israel, roaming around in this area.
Yeah, these are
gets
the women,
abused by these people.
These are the women that go there to evangelize and preach the gospel. And it's weird because they're also confused about the prophecies and who Israel is. So they support the Zionist state, and they think that they can go there and convert the Jews to become Christian. And then they go there and they're like, oh, we love the Jews, we love Israel.
Total delusion.
Delusional. They have no idea that.
Look at that. Total delusion.
They don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox, Ethiopian, Catholic. They don't care. They see us as goyim. We are just there to serve them. We are the Gentiles, and we are the cattle to serve this Antichrist entity. That's what it is.
Exactly. And look at how they're beating the woman. I mean, imagine how these children are raised. Who were their parents? Who raised them? For you to conduct such actions, you need to be raised in a horrendous way, by the way, feeling very entitled and actually viewing these people as others who are not worthy of you, of anything, really, because they belong to you. And you can subjugate them, and you can kill them, and you can give them the death sentence, and you can do everything that you want with them.
Yeah, they teach
Beat
that
them
as a
and
young,
humiliate them.
at a young age. They teach these children that we are going, we're Gentiles. They can own us eventually when their Mashiach, their Messiah comes, which is the Antichrist. And this is what they're raised with. But the media is so easily talking about, oh, Palestinians are taught to hate the Jews in their
Taught
schools. And I'm like, well, give me one school that teaches hate for the Jews. We never talked about Jews. We never even, they were
no,
not
no,
important to us. We never talked about
no,
them.
but even if you want to talk about this hate thing, it really, who is anyone to tell the people of Gaza, for example, how to feel when a country that says it's a Jewish state raising what they call the Star of David or the Ramaphan Star, and then going to Gaza with biblical verses saying that they want to kill every infant and child, and having Jewish ceremonies in the area and maiming infants. What are they going to think about Jews? What are these young kids going to think about them if we want to talk about Jews? At the end of the day, they're crying about all of that, but it's like, you are conducting the worst barbaric crimes on earth that humanity has ever seen in the name of Judaism, yet they have the audacity to try and tell people what to think and what not to think, or preach hate. Preach hate, as if you're asking, sheep, right, not to preach hate by protecting itself from the wolves surrounding it. And if they say, I need to confront the wolf, oh, you're preaching hate, right? Or if someone calls to resist them as a genocidal entity, tell you they're preaching hate. And again, like you said, it was never to do with anything about Judaism. As a matter of fact, we lived there for centuries without any problem. When did the problems begin? With the arrival of Zionism, with the establishment of Zionism on Palestine, and with the expulsion and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. Now, let's go back to Tommy Robinson before we move on to how they treat Muslims in Israel and in Jerusalem. Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley Lennon, or Wayne King, or Paul Harris, or Andrew McMaster, whatever he is or who he is, he went there as a British patriot, didn't he? He went there as a Britain First guy, Britain Firster, and he is speaking with. As a matter of fact, when he was there, he met with. He happened to see somehow, and by the way, some of his videos that he had with these people, apart from the fear, intimidation factor, and state terrorism from Israel, many of these things can be easily staged by simply offering some of these people money to come and talk and say that, yeah, we're living okay here, so they can try and push it. At the end of the day, there's relentless amounts of money that Israel's pushing with these people. They're paying influencers $7,000 a post just to post something positive about Israel. They reportedly offered someone like Charlie Kirk, before they assassinated him, most likely, 150 million. They offered so much money to so many influencers globally to go on with the Zionist propaganda, let alone the fact that they have these networks in Israel that bring people from abroad, try and blackmail them by offering them young girls so they can record them with them, then start the blackmailing process. Like someone like Jake Shields, by the way, spoke about that. He spoke about his experience in relation to that. Who knows what this guy fell for? But let's listen to him, and let's listen what he's being told by this guy here in Israel, and what he responded when he said that British have a special place in hell. Listen to
The
this.
UK has got a special place in my heart because, on the one hand, they really helped give birth to the Jewish state in World War I. The Balfour Declaration, the San Remo Accords, the mandate for a Jewish Palestine, the UK was at the forefront of that. And then they turned on us.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
They turned on us, man.
I was about to
And
say
therefore they have a special place in hell for turning on the Jewish people.
They have a special place in hell for turning against the Jewish people. Look at him. He doesn't
But
say
you were
word.
like doing this great thing. You were having Israel be reborn after 2,000 years of exile, and it was, you know, it was a biblical value. It was also a defense for a UK value, but it all turned on us. Can we turn it back?
Can we turn back? The British government have just turned on Israel. But
They've been turning on us for a long time.
Yeah.
No word whatsoever. This man is telling him, and this guy, again, he's supposed to be like a Britain first type of guy, right? British have a special place in hell. He didn't even say the people who oppose Israel. The British have a special place in hell, and Mr. Britain first, right, Zionist propagandist, Tommy Robinson, not saying a word whatsoever. Now,
he's a good goy. He's a good goy.
he's a good goy, a very good goy.
That victim mentality, you can tell from that. Oh, you birthed our country, and now you're. The victim card is expiring, man. It's expiring.
It's expired. It's expired. Now look, he had some other videos. Okay, in one of them, he spoke with like a British Muslim guy. This guy over here, the only guy he was criticizing, because of course he's an Islamophobe. So he started to have his, typical Islamophobic racist slurs. With the others, the Zionists, he didn't mention a word. He didn't even criticize anything. But let's go to, the Muslims and what the situation is like with them in Jerusalem, because he's trying to portray it as if, Muslims who are born in occupied Palestine or Israel are fine. Not far from where Tommy Robinson / Andrew / Paul / Wayne / Stephen was walking, this image was taken not long ago. This is the reality in Jerusalem. This is how these squatters treat the Palestinians. And that's not the only image. If we look at what they do to the people who, for example, are either residents of Al-Aqsa or even pray in Al-Aqsa. This was an image, this was actually a video not long ago from Al-Aqsa where they were using drones to land smoke bombs on people who are praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site for Muslims. Drones on top of them, men, women, children, petrified, horrified. The same places that this propagandist goes to and tries to portray it as if it's some sort of a safe haven for everyone to live in. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, the Zionist forces, they raided Al-Aqsa Mosque, and this is what they did. And at the time, no one was saying anything. You didn't hear any Western leader criticizing or condemning Israel. They're literally going in these mosques, blasting, bombing. The people are trying to defend themselves with whatever they can. They go in there and they commit the worst and most barbaric crimes. And then you have people saying that, oh no, we actually live in peace, and the Muslims in occupied Palestine live very happily. This is how they beat children and their parents in Al-Aqsa compound. Look at that.
No respect. There's no respect. Like I can have my own faith and not agree with everything about your faith, but doesn't mean I'm allowed to go there and start beating up people and burn their place. And I'm like, that's all they do. They come, they create chaos, they beat up people. Men, women, children. There's children in Israeli prisons right now, and these children are under the age of 10. But it doesn't matter because they call us Amalek. They have to get rid of the Amalek. All we are is Amaleks. Well, Tommy Robinson, Christ is king, and you're going to bow, boy.
Look at that. That's in Al-Aqsa just a couple of years back. At the time, no one was saying a word about these acts. As a matter of fact, there's a specific section in Al-Aqsa that is basically a glass. I'm not sure if the Israeli authorities forced them to remove it now or not. I'm talking about maybe several years back, it was still there, that had all of the grenades and stun grenades and gas and smoke grenades that the Israelis landed on the people when they were praying. There was a section, repetitive attacks and explosions and bombs against the people inside of Al-Aqsa Mosque. You're talking about a continued state policy, not only to make people feel or by law make them inferior because they have a nation state law. The nation state law says that Israel belongs to the Jewish people. They de facto made it an only Jewish supremacist entity. They made it worse than even with the Declaration of Independence that they had in 1948, which was already a racist and supremacist independence. They ethnically cleansed the Palestinian people. Now it's law in Israel. Yet these people have the audacity to go and say that, oh no, the people are actually living there and they're using a situation where Israel has emergency measures, by the way, now implemented inside of occupied Palestine. Well, you can't say a word. People were arrested for sympathizing with someone in Gaza. The Israelis, they constantly bother people and intimidate them, and this is how they pray. Sometimes outside Al-Aqsa, if they don't allow people, they'll pray outside. Some if they go in, they'll go next to them like this. And they allow their deranged and depraved squatters to go into Al-Aqsa Mosque and start pushing people when they pray to, and even hit them as well. That's right. And many people are banned from entering Al-Aqsa, including residents of Jerusalem, by the way. So you can be born in Jerusalem, you were there or living somewhere else, they'll prevent you from going into Al-Aqsa to pray. They have guards everywhere outside the place to ban whoever they like. Sometimes they'll confiscate your passport to go in, and they will simply do anything in their capability to make your experience as miserable as possible. And they say that they are a Jewish state, and they say that we are the state of the Jews. And as a matter of fact, it's not only the Muslims and Christians who suffer under this apartheid regime, but it's also the Orthodox Jews who oppose Zionism. These are people who also suffer from this Israeli terrorism. They are constantly attacked, beaten by the Israeli terror forces. If they say anything against the government, if they say anything against the state, if they say anything in sympathy or in solidarity with the Palestinian people, many of them into the Jerusalem area, they get beaten, they get attacked, they get harassed, they get arrested, and many of them suffer serious injuries from this Israeli authorities' brutality against them. We're not just talking about a genocidal entity against other religions, but the people who are supposedly their own. This is how they treat them. This is what they do with them. In the streets, they beat them, they harass them.
There's an area. There's an area over there called Niture Karta, which means guardians of
Neturei Karta, yes.
Yeah. So what they do, it's interesting because it's supposed to be a Jewish state. Well, if you're really going to follow your religion, aren't you supposed to be there until the Messiah comes? But you don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, which means you're still waiting for your Messiah. So overall, why are you there? Why are you
Well, some of them argue against the formation of the whole state based on that fact.
Look at that.
But those who look at that, those who agree or disagree, whatever it is, look at how they treat Jewish people.
Modern day
These
Nazis.
are religious. These are Jewish people, and that's how this country treats them on a regular basis. And I'm just bringing, by the way, it wasn't difficult for me at all to come up with these videos. There are tons of other videos and evidence all across about just how brutal they are with these people. People go unconscious, people attacked 24/7, people beaten. There were protests against the government not long ago, against the genocide as well. And look at the barbarity and level of violence against these people, against these teenagers, against these young men, whatever they are or whatever they believe. And again, some videos are even harsher than this, where people are literally go unconscious. And, we want to try and make this work with some of the videos that we're publishing. Then, if we want to talk about the civil society, people, for example, who campaign. This was, for example, people, members of society, non members of society, protesting against the stealing, state theft of homes in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem. This is what they do to women. And again, whether they are Jewish or non-Jewish or secular or non-secular, if they oppose the state, this is what happens to them. And we're talking about non-violent protesters, peaceful protesters. Look at how they push people for no reason. Some of them elderly. And again, some of them are Jewish activists, by the way, for Palestinian rights. Some of them have been trying to get into Gaza, by the way, some Jewish Israeli activists who oppose the genocide, or go to the West Bank, which we will get to in a second, to oppose the atrocities of the Zionist establishment in those areas. And this is the level of violence that they get. And in most cases, they are fully backed by the Israeli forces. They work hand in hand, because some people will try and portray it. Some people like to mislead Westerners and people globally by telling you, oh, the settlers, some documentaries will come up either in Britain or in some other countries. Oh, the settlers, as if the settlers are the problem. Who's backing the settlers? Who made the settlements? Who is arming them? Who's using them as state policy? Where are they coming from? 700,000 of the squatters, according to Huckabee, by the way, who confirmed this not long ago, come from the United States of America. Ex-criminals, ex-pedophiles, people who want to have something for free based on providing hate and destruction against the Palestinian people. Now it's the olive season in Palestine. You know how much of a celebration it is, the olive season, people going to pick olives up. These are the images that we are seeing now. This Jewish Zionist terrorist squatter from the West Bank, he hit that woman with this baton thing on her head. He left her unconscious. She was only picking olives. He is backed by the state. No one is going to do anything to him. They know very well what they're doing. It's a governmental policy. It's a state policy. And it has been like that even before this right-wing government of Israel was there, when we had several other governments that claimed to be, on the left side. This was a man, again, and his wife trying to pick olives. Look at that.
This is like an everyday situation everywhere, all across the West Bank.
Exactly. That's their day-to-day life.
The olive trees are older than their granddaddy that came from Europe. Yet they're like, this is our land. God promised us this land 1,000,000 years ago. And then they come and look how they're just beating people up. And, if this was not recorded, nobody would know. But thank God everybody has a camera now and you can record things. But if you get seen recording, it's game over.
They could kill you. They'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, right? Like they killed 250 journalists in Gaza. They'll simply shoot you.
Yeah. Shireen Abu Akleh, for those that don't know, Shireen Akleh is a Palestinian American Christian woman. Okay, she has an American citizenship like me. She's Palestinian like me. She's Christian like me. And she was reporting the atrocities that were committed by the Zionist state. and killing children, men and women. And she was on their hit list, and eventually they assassinated her. And they claimed that a resistance in that area, because apparently we're all Hamas, that the resistance shot her, and then it was proven that she was assassinated by the bullet that came out of the IDF soldiers. So all they do is lie. I mean, they're
Exactly.
allowed to lie to Gentiles. That's what they do.
Exactly. And did you see her funeral? Do you remember her funeral?
Yeah, I remember the funeral when you had Muslims and Christians both holding her casket, and then the soldiers and the cops come in and start beating these men on their chins, try to get them to drop the casket.
Look at that. Lolook at that. That's a funeral.
Listen, we
That's
can't
a
live in
funeral.
peace and we can't die in peace.
Exactly that. That was her funeral.
Look at that.
As
Look
soon
at
as they came out, they beat people up. Let's have a close up for the people to look at the barbarity of these deranged beings. It is
they were trying
unbelievable.
to drop the coffin. That was their look.
They were exactly, and the people just fortunately enough managed to lift it. How barbaric can you be?
Tommy Robinson, these are Muslim men carrying
There
a
you go.
woman.
Exactly that. Exactly. This is what they need to understand. This is what they need to know. And this is what pushed me really to post this video, because usually I don't like to even comment or mention these people. But that's the reality. That is a group of people, in short, who really believe they are above you, and they really believe that you are below them as a human being, a goy, that you deserve to be subjugated and killed. And they are translating this belief on the ground on a regular day-to-day basis against the Palestinian people.
Yep. Tommy Robinson, you should read Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 in the Holy Bible. When Jesus is talking, say, these people that claim that they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. This is who this country is, with the rampant flag that belongs to Satan on their flag.
I mean, I think it'll fall on deaf ears, if I'm honest with you.
He's not Christian.
I think
he doesn't know the Bible.
I think Andrew / Paul / Wayne / Stephen / Tommy, I think he's a lost case. And I mean, can you get better than this? Can you get better than this?
Yeah, the Israeli terrorist forces.
And then you had this. They had this Unite the Kingdom, right? Protest. I'm not sure how the authorities, again, there's complicity from the authorities too for allowing a hate preacher, terrorist individual to get people around him, mostly drunk, pissing the streets, using the streets as public toilets in London, spewing venom, talking about immigration when half of them are immigrants, by the way, if not like 90% of them. Absolute hypocrisy. And then all of a sudden, bringing Israeli flags, bringing Israeli flags and raising Israeli flags in the middle of London. And what is the excuse? Well, we don't know why actually we're raising an Israeli flag. You know, if you'll hear some of them, they were asked like, why are you raising an Israeli flag in a protest that's supposed to be like a British protest? Why are you doing that? And they will tell you, well, yeah, I mean, Israel, well, we don't know. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of interviews in that regard. I'm not sure if I'll find one now, where they're basically asked, why are you raising the Israeli flag in that protest when you're talking about Britain first? And they really don't have any sort of a proper answer. And then you had these people ripping the Palestinian flag for some reason, as if, you know, it's all calculated. It's all literally calculated from them to raise this anti-Palestinian sentiment and provide a cover and whitewash the crimes of Israel.
Well,
Whitewash the crimes of
they get
Israel.
they get paid $7,000 a post on social media. So I'm sure if you're in the UK and they're like, okay, we'll give you $500. Here's the Israeli flag, even though you're saying UK first, but Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, and they're doing God's work. So why don't you raise that flag? Well, why don't you take that flag and shove it up where the sun don't shine?
Exactly that. And I mean, lastly, really, I think we've covered a lot of the things that are important in this bit here, which I hope will be sufficient, even though there's like heaps of evidence and information and more like videos, day-to-day stuff. But I think to conclude, it's important to note this is part of Israel's campaign to recover. They are relentless. They are zealots. They are not stopping. Benjamin Netanyahu declared multiple times that social media is the propaganda. Imagine how ridiculous that is. So even their armies of bots in online are not enough to counter the genuine move and the genuine sentiment of the global population to support the Palestinian cause, because it's first and foremost a humanitarian cause that concerns all of us. It doesn't just concern the Palestinian people, it concerns the American, the European, wherever you are, the African, the Asian. Because these people, in many cases, are totally infiltrating and controlling your government and your authorities. And the same powers that justify and legitimize a genocide against the Palestinian people will legitimize and justify a genocide against their own people. So they're spending billions on, acquiring TikTok, according to Netanyahu, is one of the most important things, even though Larry Ellison bought it, but then Larry Ellison is Israel. Look, we start to see the web, right? The web that they always deny and tell you it's a conspiracy. Then the activism on social media, they invited people over and they met. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Netanyahu offered hefty amounts of money for multiple podcasters in the United States when he was there to go on their podcast to show as if, it's normal to speak with a war criminal butchering infants in Gaza. It's so perfectly normal to do that. And again, try and regain that lost legitimacy that was tarnished. And this tour, this Zio tour of the Ziowood champion, Stephen / Andrew, Paul, Wayne, Tommy, whatever he is a part of that campaign, a part of that propaganda. And I thought it would be very important just to alert people if they are not already aware. I mean, although, to be honest with you, there's a lot of awareness happening at the moment, but I think it's very important to address some of this propaganda when it gets really ridiculous, especially when it starts to talk in the name of or portray as if, the Palestinians who are born in occupied Palestine somehow enjoy the same rights as the Jewish people do. Would you like to add anything to wrap up, Chozy, before we finish?
Well, I think the great noticing is happening, which is the great awakening. I think people are catching up to the wickedness of these people and that Zionist entity that is creating havoc in the Middle East and abroad. I mean, you can't just be in war with Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Palestine, Gaza, which is, man, like people don't understand. Like, if this is the whole occupied Palestine, which is called Israel now, Gaza is a city. So let's put this into context in the United States. It's like the United States of America is going to war with one state, if that. And apparently that whole state, if it resists the attack, they're all called terrorists. Well, the whole entity, the Zionist state in 1948 and before, was started by Jewish terrorists, Haganah, Ergun, And these people ended up being the IDF, which is represented in that T-shirt that Tommy Robinson is wearing. So he's telling you, I'm a terrorist. And if we say anything about that entity, they're going to call us anti-Semites. But guess what? Me and Mahmoud, we're Semites. So what are you going to use against us?